support and resistance doesn't work. That's because you're using it the wrong way. Now, let me show you how to properly use support and resistance. Now, this is case one. Market is heading to the upside. This is for an uptrend now. So for an uptrend, you can use support zones this way. So you can see market is pushing higher highs, higher lows, and higher highs. Then it creates a higher low. Then once that higher low has broken straight to the upside and price comes back to form support on that zone, meaning it touches the same level twice. That's already a value support zone. So depending on your confirmation, you can actually enter buys on this trade to push price to the upside. Now this is another situation here. We have price forming higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows. Now once price breaks above the previous highs and then comes back to mitigate that previous high. So let's say previous highs was forming resistance before. Now that price has come back to mitigate it and breaks just the upside once more, then that previous resistance is now acting as support. And once that is the case, when price comes back to that level again, you can actually enter trades for buys as a valid support zone. Remember guys, if you want to actually trade support and resistance correctly, make sure you are trading it with the trend. You cannot enter sell positions whenever you're in an uptrend. So let's say this situation now, what price most likely will do is, let's say we're forming a series of higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows, higher highs, then it came down, it didn't form a high, it formed an equal high and it went down again. So most people think that that's already resistance zone and they want to sell the market when market comes back to that level. But that's not the correct way to trade support and resistance, because if you're trading your resistance zone at this point right now, what's eventually going to happen is this now. So price will eventually come, it will come back to that level and then it will sweep out that resistance zone, break above it, and then come back to mitigate that previous resistance zone as support. So your previous resistance zone will turn to support. So if you're trading resistance and support, make sure that you're considering the trend. Make sure you're only entering zones of previous resistance turn support, or you're entering off only support zones, pure support zones or previous resistance turn support whenever the trend is heading to the upside. Now for case 2, when price is in a downtrend, so you can see price is forming lower lows and lower highs, lower lows and lower highs, and then it formed a new lower low. Now after the forming a new lower low, you can see price came back to that previous lower high and it's not able to break above that previous lower high, so it's forming a form of resistance there. So depending on your confirmation, either on the lower time frame or a candlestick confirmation, you can actually take sales from there to push price to the downside, because you're entering sales at the resistance when price is in a downtrend. So you can see this is another case again on the right side. You can see that price is forming lower lows and lower highs, lower lows and lower highs, lower lows and lower high. Then it broke. You see price here broke below the previous lower low, so previous support has now turned resistance. So whenever you're in a downtrend, you're only supposed to take sells at resistance zones or sells at previous support turn resistance. So you can see that's what price did here. So this was previous support here, it broke through it came back to mitigate it, forming a new lower high, then it broke through below and formed a new lower low. Then when price comes back to that level, we are expecting to enter sales in that level. Now another example, you can see price is forming lower low